Hello, this is Janet Michael. In addition to hosting The Valley Today each weekday at noon on the River 95.3, I also produce podcasts, and I'm excited to introduce you to a new podcast series in partnership with Lord Fairfax Community College. Having provided higher education and career training for the past half-century, LFCC is tightly interwoven into the fabric of the Northern Shenandoah Valley and Piedmont regions. Join me every week for conversations with current and former students to hear their funny and inspiring stories as we learn about their journey to higher education, the role that LFCC has played, where they are now, and where they plan to go. We'll also talk to current and former professors about their experiences and best memories of LFCC over the past 50 years. Get every single episode as they're released on our website at theriver953.com under the podcast tab, or you can subscribe for free in Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, on Spotify, Amazon Music, wherever you listen to podcasts. Just search for LFCC Stories. Hello and welcome to The Valley Today. I am your host, Janet Michael. Happy Monday as you are listening to the show today. We, however, have pre-recorded our conversation on a Zoom screen, as is normal, I think, these days. We are chatting today with Rusty Holland. He is the director at the Concern Hotline. Also joining us on the Zoom screen is Winter Brooks. She's going to talk with us about the Out of the Darkness walk that's happening at Shenandoah on the 10th of October. Rusty, thank you for taking some time today to meet me on the Zoom screen and kind of give me an education about the Concern Hotline.
Well, Janet, I thank you for reaching out to me and giving us a chance to spread our mission and our cheer a little bit. You know, we don't get to talk about positive stuff too much at Concern Hotline. So it's nice to make good connections and talk about how we're trying to make our community safer together.
What is it exactly that you guys do?
Our mission statement is to calm and comfort community members in times of stress or crisis via a 24-hour, 365-day volunteer-run hotline. That hotline has been ringing since 1968. We have answered over 300,000 calls in that time. We came into being as a response to the high suicide rate on the East Coast during the Vietnam War. Soldiers were returning to the Valley and they didn't have any resources, and things that we know now we call PTSD were causing a high number of suicides in our area, and Concern Hotline felt that there needed to be a safe, anonymous, confidential line for people to call and talk about whatever they wanted to talk about. And we're also prepped to do suicide intervention. So that has been our sort of hook that we've hung our hat on for the last 52 years.
I had no idea that you were volunteer run. That comes as a complete surprise to me. How does that work? I assume you offer training and things along those lines.
We have 2 employees, but we have over 40 listeners. And all of our listeners, except for shifts that we can't cover, are covered by volunteers. We train our volunteers in-house. We use proven techniques that are being used worldwide for suicide intervention. And then we also talk about other topics that are frequented on the hotline: mental health, housing, shelter, food, money, relationships, domestic violence, addiction. I mean, you name it, the roll call just keeps going on and on and on. And so we refer to our workforce as compassionate listeners. We feel that we can take any call about any topic at any time and make somebody a little safer at the end of the call than they were at the beginning of the call. I challenge your listeners to call the number I'm going to give you in a little bit here sometime soon in the near future, and just check out what it's like to call a hotline that is out there for your support. It's totally anonymous, totally free, totally confidential. Nobody's going to know who you are. And just talk about what's eating at you today or what's making you feel good today. I love getting phone calls. Every now and then we'll get a phone call that'll say, I just wanted to let you know that I'm having a wonderful day. Sometimes Concern Hotline is there for me when I'm not having such a wonderful day. So I wanted to be here for you when I had a wonderful day. I wanted to let you know. So, I mean, we even get calls like that. So we're averaging about 2,500 phone calls a year last year. Our calls are up close to 20% this year due to COVID and the mental health crisis that's surrounding it. But we're moving ahead. with our volunteers who we just trained 9 more this past Saturday.
So do you do that on a regular basis? I mean, do you have set volunteer trainings that people can just kind of slide right into?
Janet, we do. We have, well, things have changed in 2020. So we usually do quarterly listener trainings for our community. So we stopped doing training in March, and we started back up the end of July with only 3 in a very big room with all of our guidelines in place. And we have learned how to use the spaces that we have to get the most out of them. So we have had 3 trainings since then. We have also trained a class of Shenandoah University students who we matriculate onto our hotline for a semester, and they get some real world experience. These are people that are taking a clinical helping skills class that are going into professions where they're going to be helping. So what a great fit for Concern to have a continuous input of talented, smart, driven students. And we just get the luxury of having that on the hotline, and it happens every semester. So our relationship with Shenandoah helps with our listeners as well. But it's nice to be doing trainings again.
Well, I would imagine that in addition to the struggle to find volunteers in the middle of a pandemic, doing fundraisers has also been a huge issue for you. How are things going from that perspective?
You've done this before, haven't you? We just had our biggest fundraiser of the year. Friday, September the 4th, we had our 21st annual fish fry. And we sold a little over 600 pounds of catfish.
What?
We normally sell 1,200 pounds when we do our festival, but we did a drive-through. We didn't know how it was going to work, and we were a little nervous about doing it, but we served over 1,200 meals, and we made over $23,000 in a year that we expected to not hit those kinds of numbers. So we appreciate the community support because we couldn't do it without those people driving through eating that fish. And people waited up to a half an hour sometimes to get a plate of fish. So I appreciate your patience and your support. But other than that, you hit the nail on the head. All the other fundraising has just come to a screeching halt. We've changed strategies a little bit. The board is constantly trying to find ways to come up with new ideas to raise money. And some of the traditional ways I just think are a little beat, so we're always trying to find something new. That's what we said 21 years ago when we started the fish fry.
And I hear that a lot from nonprofits, that in some ways this pandemic was a silver lining because they probably would have kept doing things the way they'd always been doing them because they were comfortable, and the pandemic has made them kind of think outside the box, and now they've invented new ways that they like even more, and they're more successful than the old.
I totally agree with that. When I talk to some of my peers, I think that's a very realistic statement. We have found that the one thing that we've lost is the ability to interact with our listeners face-to-face in listener appreciation events that we have. Like last year, we went to a baseball game and we went bowling and we do ice cream and we have parties. One of our board members likes to host check-ins. So, we try to check in regularly with our listeners to make sure they're doing okay. And we haven't been able to do that. So that's one of the things that we're really, really focusing on right now is how do we provide listener appreciation type events? It's kind of hard on a 2-inch by 2-inch screen. So that's been tough. But yes, you are right. I love Zoom board meetings. I'll never go back unless I have to. Well, like I said in the beginning, we were kind of trying to have some smiles here today, and most of my conversations have been about addiction and underserved areas and underserved populations and people who are at risk. We have so many rural communities in the valley that aren't being reached by services, and there's so many people at risk for mental health issues. I know Winter and I actually met yesterday and talked for a while about some of the issues that are striking our community just within the last week. And how we can become stronger and making our community safer. And that's what we're all about today, is trying to be as effective as we can and just being vigilant about making people safe.
What geographical area do you cover? You're not just Winchester, Frederick County, are you?
No, we're part of the Health District 7. which works with Northwestern Community Service Board. We're actually a contractee of Northwestern Community Services Board, and we serve Page, Shenandoah, Warren, Clark, Frederick, and Winchester, about 300,000 people. I like to tell people when I'm doing my presentations, we're waiting for 300,000 people a day to call us. Sometimes it feels like it's that many that's calling, but our average is about 12 to 15. So 12 to 15 of that 300,000 we're getting just about every day. We cover a wide area, and frankly today I've been talking with individuals about expanding our coverage into the panhandle of West Virginia and over the mountain into Hardy and Hampshire counties. We're getting more and more calls from areas like Romney and Berkeley Springs and Martinsburg and Charlestown. I always talk about concentric circles. How can we take our circle of safety in Winchester and continue to make it bigger and more inclusive for all of us that are at risk for mental health crisis or suicide? So that's really what our focus has been, and that's why I love working with Winter and trying to find ways that we work together with you, Janet, to make us all safer.
Well, Winter, let's take a quick commercial break. When we come back, can we chat a little bit about your Out of the Darkness walk? Tell me a little bit about how that came to be, what it's going to look like this year, because it too is getting a little twist, I think. Can we do all of that in the next segment?
Absolutely.
We will be back in just a couple of minutes. We are on the Zoom screen today with Rusty Holland. He is the director at the Concern Hotline. When we come back, we're going to chat with Winter Brooks. She's going to tell us all about the Out of the Darkness walk. It is happening at Shenandoah on the 10th of October. We'll get all of those details from her in just a couple of minutes.
Do you know anyone who is struggling with financial hardships because of coronavirus? Our new webinar called Coping with the Money Crunch can help. We'll talk about immediate options to consider, revising or creating a spending plan, and lots of community resources. Then we'll cover how to narrow your priorities, contact creditors, and avoid scams and risky loans. The webinar is free, and you can either join by phone or through Zoom on a smartphone, tablet, or computer. You can find out more by visiting the Northern Shenandoah Valley Financial Education Program on Facebook or calling Karen Poff at 540-635-4549. Let me show you how to make your own plan or help someone you care about get through the crisis. Call 635-4549 or visit at NSV Financial Education on Facebook today.
Welcome back to the Valley today. I am your host, Janet Michael. You, of course, are listening on Monday afternoon. We, however, have pre-recorded our conversation on Zoom a little earlier than that. We have been chatting in the first segment with Rusty Holland. He is the director at the Concern Hotline. And now we are going to talk to Winter Brooks.
Thank you, Janet, for inviting us to be here today. I am a co-chair for the Stevens City Out of the Darkness Walk and a board member for the Virginia chapter for AFSP. The Out of the Darkness walks really started in 2004. How we became involved with it, my son died of suicide in 2009, and my family wanted us to get involved with something to help the healing process. And so we ventured to Washington, D.C., where they have the great big Out of the Darkness walk. And we really got very involved with that. Fundraising wise, I was invited to speak our second year going, and you know, it was so helpful. I can't tell you how. And so 6 years ago, we felt that our own community right here in Stevens City needed more suicide awareness. So we contacted the director of the state and asked if we could have a walk up here. So this was in July, and the walk was going to be, all the walks are always in the fall, and it was going to be in October. And so boom, and we were so proud. I mean, it went very well. We kind of based it some on the way they did it in DC on a smaller scale. Each year it grew. And the following year we had more participants and kind of felt comfortable then knowing what we were doing. We had started a committee. It wasn't, you know, just a few of us. And so last year we had year 5, and we had over 600 participants, and we raised over $72,000.
Wow.
All those folks that were there, they're there because they're survivors of suicide loss, or they struggle themselves. And it was a very powerful event. It was very powerful. So then when we're planning our year 6, because it really doesn't stop. Suicide awareness and prevention, it's not just a seasonal thing. Like once the walk is over, you might take a little breath, but promoting suicide awareness is a year-long event in itself. And we were planning tabling events in different communities around here, trying to venture out of Stevens City and Winchester. And in fact, we had an event in Front Royal planned at the hospital because the nearest walk is in Harrisonburg, and that's the greater Shenandoah Valley. So we have a lot of territory between here and there to try to get the word out with a dozen people. It's hard, but this year our committee grew and we were just all ready to get started, and then the pandemic started. So it wasn't until August that we got the word that we could not have the event the way we've known it the past 5 years. We could not have 600 people gathering at one time and things like that. So we quickly had to think outside the box, and it's hard on a quick spur of the moment because we really had all the plans for the event. So we needed to come up with a plan to host activities for folks to safely connect, support one another, and share life-saving resources. I mean, that's where we had to try to go with this. So we first of all had to change the name from the Stevens City Out of the Darkness Walk, because it's not the walk per se that we knew. So it's called the Stevens City Out of the Darkness Experience. And it's a journey of remembrance, hope, and support. I think those 3 words really defines what we're all about when we all gather together. So our experience this year, we have pre-recorded some things that were really important to us from our past walks. One of them being our speakers. So we met at the park and we pre-recorded the talks. We have 3. One thing about our Out of the Darkness Walk is we have an honor bead ceremony. And what it is, AFSP has 9 colors of beads that symbolize your loss on this journey. Like for instance, I would wear white beads for the loss of a child. If you lost a spouse, it'd be red. If you lost a sibling, it would be orange. If you struggle, it would be green. And if it's military, it's silver. If it's a parent, it's gold, so forth. So, and then everyone would wear blue beads, which symbolizes you support the cause. So we would have a speaker that represented each color, and they would just write their story in a few sentences, you know, why they wear this color, and then our MC reads their story as they pour that color sand in a jar. And so that has always been, it's just sort of a good way to honor our people, our persons. Another thing with the beads that are so important is that when you look around and there's 600 people right in front of you, and you spot how many people wearing white beads, for instance. 11 years ago, I would have sworn that I was the only person in Winchester that had lost a child, because people don't just give you that information. See everyone in front of you with all those white beads. I mean, I have connected with most of them, and we check on each other. So the honor bead ceremony is very special. And because we couldn't do that as a group, we did pre-record that. So on Saturday, October 10th, at 10 a.m., you come to the park and just walk the Blue Trail as a team or family. During certain hours, we'll have a canopy up there, and if you raised $150, you earn a t-shirt. So you can pick up your t-shirt. We have honor beads if you'd like to have the honor beads. We have swag, thanks to Concern Hotline, to give out to everyone, and activities like that. And then we encourage them, just as a team, just walk the Blue Trail in the park, because that was part of our walk. You can just think about your person, tell stories to each other, and reminisce about, think about the memories that you have, and just give you that feel of honoring them that day. on October 10th from noon to 2. So we'll be up there at the park for that. But at 10 a.m., our event will air on our Facebook page. So we encourage folks to, if you haven't joined our Facebook page, to join it so they can see that. And it will have the speakers, it will have music from the James Wood Choir. Blue Ridge Hospice has been so kind. They're one of our in-kind sponsors this year, and they recorded a beautiful song, and they did a little self-care clip for our event. And then at the end, we're going to have a luminary. One of the things that we had at Sharando each year, people had sent me pictures of their persons that they are remembering, and I enlarged them and laminated them and put them on yard signs. It went all the way around the whole football field. And as people walk, they see their person. And so they will be in our luminary event. It's just a beautiful remembrance, and it's a beautiful way to support each other and our community.
If somebody wants to come that day and participate, do they have to register in advance? What are the logistics for that?
I would register because that gives us a way of reaching out to them after our event on October 10th. I mean, there's a reason they're there, right? They could be struggling and just heard about it, or they could be a survivor of suicide loss, or just supporting a friend. So if they do register, they can go to afsp.org/Stephen City and register. I mean, it's free, but it does give us a connection so that we can email them and tell them events that we'll be doing next year. So I would recommend to register for that reason. And if they want to view our Facebook live event, then it's Stephen City VA Out of the Darkness.
You mentioned earlier that typically what would have happened in the past is that people walk in teams, and you're encouraging that on a little bit smaller of a level this year.
Yes.
Is it one of those situations where I can reach out to somebody that I know is walking and say, hey, can I sponsor you and give you $10 or something along those lines so that I can support financially if I can't be there physically?
Absolutely. And if you go to afsp.org/Stephen City, you can do that. Like if you know someone that has already registered, then you can just easily go to their name and make a donation. The important thing is that Hope is not canceled. A lot of things have canceled this year, but Hope has not. One of the things that we did this year that's new, my son-in-law built us a 4-foot Hope sign. So it's 4 big letters. And we have been transporting it for the last 8 weeks, each week at a different location to promote hope, because that's something that we know we can do. It's at Hood and Winchester. It's been all the way to Newmarket, and it's been to Strasburg at the City Bank. It's been at Starbucks. It's been at car dealerships. So each week we transport it to different locations. And again, that's a way that we can just continue to promote hope in our community.
We have to wrap up, but before we do, Rusty, I wanted to ask you, you mentioned at the top of the show that there was a phone number that you were going to give us before we were finished. Can you let people know if they are struggling or if they sense that a family member is struggling, how would they reach out to get some sort of help from the Concern Hotline?
We support all the communities that we're in by offering different phone lines, but instead of trying to confuse you with a bunch of different phone numbers, we use our Winchester number as our main number, which is 540-667-0145. Again, that's 24 hours. And, you know, we're there for mental health and suicide awareness and prevention, but you don't have to be thinking about suicide to call Concern Hotline. So we have a lot of people who are isolated and alone through this COVID that have been calling just because they're lonely. We hope that people can reach out, and we hope that people will go check out Winners Out of the Darkness Walk. I got to tell you, 3 years ago, I had the privilege of speaking at the walk, and I know exactly what Winners saying, because as I looked out over those people and I saw the colored beads and I saw all the different missions of reasons for people being there, and I knew quite a few of the people that were there, but never knew that there was a connection with suicide with all of us. And so I feel Winter when she says that. I recognize that moment. And that's when I personally became more involved in trying to support the Out of the Darkness Walk in any way I could.
Where can people go to get more information or donate to Concern?
Well, concernhotline.org is our website, and actually it's under construction right now. You can still go and visit, but we're putting in a brand new source book search bar that's going to make it easier to find resources for people that don't want to talk on the phone, that can just go to our website and find resources. Or you can go to our Facebook page. Our Facebook page is fairly active, and we have ways to communicate with our staff and our volunteers through that portal as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for taking some time out of your day to meet me on the Zoom screen and talk about this very important topic. I think it's great that you are trying to get the word out so that people do understand and realize that none of us are in this alone. It just feels like it sometimes.
Janet, can I just add to something Rusty said? Real conversations can save a life, and that's what they do. And it's so important, and to be the voice. And this is how my role as Stephen's mom has not ended, is to continue to be the voice. So thank you.
Thank you both. If anybody wants more information about anything that we've talked about today, all of the links for everything, I'll have the link to the Concern website. I'll have the link for the Out of the Darkness experience. I'll have the Facebook page links. Everything is already up on the show notes page at theriver953.com. Just click on the podcast tab. Rusty Winter, again, thank you both so much. I do appreciate your time today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome.
I will be back tomorrow. I'll have a brand new episode of The Valley Today ready to go for you just a few minutes after noon. Meet me back here then.